planet Earth. In the ethnic school of thinking, we've been blessed to have revealed to us the value of history. Not as a book, not as an academia, not as a literature, but as a part of your own brain. The Europeans' concept history is a bit deceiving, but it does lend some directives to where we can go with this idea in terms of his story. Now, this is an old one. That's something like was being done back in the 60s. You know, when a brother wrote this one down and broke it down, you know, it was almost like a divine revelation, you know, because we weren't into anything in the anagrammatic writing school of thought. But at that point in 1966, 65, when we were all revolutionaries and was almost too black to stand on 2 feet and too angry to love, you know, and too dumb to think, you know. Remarkable how fury and passion can get the mind out of hand, where literally insanity becomes the order of the day, and sanity and spirituality and intuitiveness are forced to take a back seat, you know. But that was a part of the process of unfolding. We understand those periods. When I refer to history as being the back of your head, I'm talking about the records of the past. It is not in a book. It is in you. And those that speak from a podium of religiosity or spirituality must begin to define what they are talking about in relationship to whom they speak. The temple is not something you build. It's something that you have. It is your body. The Moorish Science Temple, the masjid, the synagogue, the cathedral, the church. It is you. And black folks need to know and understand that, not to believe that. You see, the pursuit is not about belief. If belief had real power, we'd all be shining lights. Our folks have been believing before they got here and all the way through this ordeal. See? And it didn't grow one strand of hair for us. It is the knowing that we are in search of, in quest of, and hungry for. See, the real food we're hungry for is knowledge. And there's a spirit of knowledge that needs to be introduced to the Christian church, to the masjid. You see? There's a spirit of knowledge that will not tolerate childhood. It will insist that the baby grow up. You heard Paul when he said, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I thought as a child, I played as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. You remember reading that or hearing the good Reverend? But the good Reverend didn't carry it to the next level, you know, and then this is where I start pointing my finger at him. He stops where his sworn oath halts him, you know. I don't know if you all know it, but most of your preachers are Masons.
Yes.
Now that doesn't necessarily lend them too many accolades of knowledgeableness. You know, there are many kinds of Masons. There are some that have the ornaments, the status, the money, and the favor. And there's some that really do have knowledge. But both of them have the finger here by oath. And it astonished me as I met the children of Masons, who their fathers and their grandfathers didn't tell them anything about themselves and that order. Amazing how well they kept that secret. Amazing. When I became a man, I put away childish things. Now that's what Paul is talking about, at least the credibility is given to Paul. You know, we have to question theology. If our parental pastors and ministers had done so, we'd be in better shape to deal with knowledge, truth, and power now. But they didn't question their mentors, the white boy who taught them how to preach and what to preach. You see, on one level, believe, my brother, believe. And there's nothing in the scripture that is a credit to Jesus that tells you to believe. He said, know you the truth. And the truth will set you free. You see? Knowledge. Yeah. That's what a man is. And that's not a male man. And the black man and the black woman needs to know that. The first man is the womb man. Your mama, my brother. You see, that's the first God. I love Lewis for having said that. That God, the first God is mama. See, because mama feeds her son. You see, rocks him in her arms, wipes him. When he gets sick, she's the one sitting there up all night, giving him whatever remedies she know about. You see, most of it is her own energy that heals the child, you see, that raises him up, you see. That's first God. That teaches him how to say daddy, even if daddy ain't there. That's first God. See? And your ancestors understood that. And their devising of, as they were ordered to, from headquarters, to set up this system under the knowledge of nature. Let me erase this little concept here. That's an old Kemetic word. That's not English. You know, you notice I'm not using the word Egypt and Egyptian. You noticing that? That's not a valid African word, but it does have its codex inscriptus meaning. We'll find out a little bit more about that Sunday. Mother and son. That's who Jesus came down here with his mama. His dad stayed upstairs, didn't he? Huh? Huh? Mother and son. Ma and son. May's son. See? We're going to get into the language that we've been inoculated with understanding. We're going to go past believing. There is where we shall find both freedom and power in knowledge. Knowledge really is power. It really, really is. It stops children's mouths when you hand it to them. I went into a room full of, quote, so-called soul learners in Cleveland. Bad kids, in a less technological terminology. The kids nobody wanted to be bothered with. You know? And they were mumbling and talking and so forth, and I introduced the concept to the descriptive of the Moor: broad nose, thick lips, furrowed-haired, and dark skin. And most of the kids in there were black. There were a few little white kids in there, and one little kid in the back started giggling when I said broad nose and thick lips. I said, what are you laughing at, brother? You know. I said, no, I don't. Stand up. And he stood up. I said, what's your name? My name's John. I said, oh. I said, what does John mean? It got real quiet. Because when I said, what does John mean, everybody else had to wonder what their name meant. And they didn't know. It got, I mean, you could hear a mouse piss on cotton. Quiet. So he stood there and he said, John means John. You know, it was caught. You know, he'd been asked a question that he'd never thought about, let alone had an answer to. But it stopped the argument here, and the foolishness back here stopped. You see, because we are so attached to our name. When we take off our clothes, we leave on our name. We can't get named butt naked. You see, that boy had to think about that. I said, son, your name means love. Sit down. And I had command of that room for 3 hours with no interruptions. Knowledge goes past the sheath of ignorance, which is defense. You see? Ignorance defends fear. It defends fear. Our children in the streets running with guns and bats and knives are not strong children. Those are the ones that are most frightened, and their greatest fear is the fear of death itself. Master, able and noble is what a man is, what a womb man is, the first man who produces the son, who becomes whom? The father. You see? So it all begins with mama. If you want to know what's wrong with black America, tell the black boy to take his foot off his woman's neck if he wants to do better and wants his life to get better. Take his foot out from behind his woman's behind if he wants to do better and make his life better. Divine love will not tolerate abuse. It will not honor it. The black man is not going to honor his mother. He's not going to get a blessing from the universe because that's a she. The mother Zodicaius is the concept of what zodiac is. The ancient concept of mother in this science. It is depicted by the singular personality of Isis, which is a Greek word, Auset, Kemetic. See? The Bible is filled up with the knowledge of self. The Bible is filled up with self-knowledge, and none of it is Jewish. All of it is Afrocentric. And if I get a chance, enough time, Sunday, I'm going to prove that. We can begin with the concept itself. Look at this word. Erase the rest of this. See, I like this. Boy, when you erase stuff actually goes off the board. Again, one in Cleveland, you'd keep wiping and nothing would go away. Before you open the book tells you what it's about. Right on the cover. When you read, translate. See? We don't speak English. We speak Latin. If you don't believe me, turn to the cough syrup and turn the box on the side and start reading. Just run down the ingredients. You're going to be hacking your way through Latin in Greek terms as the ingredients. Same thing on your loaf of bread, the same thing on any product that you buy. Turn the product to the side and read the ingredients. It'll tell you what kind of language you have been speaking. Modern Latin, called English. See? Testament, old and new. Testi, menti, when you break the word down. Testi. You don't have to believe this. All you need to do is go get a Latin dictionary, all right? This is what I love about Moorish science. It doesn't bother your belief. You can carry your belief into a Moorish science lecture and put it in your pocket and leave it in there, though, because you're going to want to leave it at where you lose it when you learn who you are. You see? Chesty, body, menti. Mind. Chesty, menti. Old mind, old body. New mind, new body. That's what the Bible is about. Holios Biblos. Holios, fire, light, power, Biblos, book, body is the book. See? The holy body, the body of fire, the body of light. See? The theme of the scriptures, plural, because the Bible ain't the only scripture, is the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Bhagavatam, the Rig Vedas, the Upanishads. Go on and on and on, the Gathas, rather. Those are the scriptures of the world. We live on a planet. We live in a solar system. We live in a universe. And you're supposed to become a citizen of all of that. Yeah? You really don't live in Trenton, New Jersey. You see? Your credentials are much bigger than your city. And you have more rights than the white boy ever dreamed he could give you. And much of those that are your rights, he cannot withhold if you will claim them within your holy temple. Self-knowledge is what Moorish science is about. There are probably more than, but I categorize 12 areas of that level of knowledge that covers the full circumference of the 360-degree circle, that measures everything, that has a life form status. You were born in 9 months, right? Innocent, right? I mean, amen. You know, when Reverend Biscuits say right, you're supposed to give up amen, especially when it's right. All right? Especially when it's correct. You see? 9 months. In a system, solar, of 9 planets. In a mathematical system of 9 numbers. See? Look at this mathematics. Because math don't lie. You see, even the good preacher won't give mathematics to the devil. He done gave him everything else. That's the devil's astrology. It belongs to the devil. Oh, I get on it, but I still love it because I know he's the pastor of our children. This is the babysitter. You see? You really can't knock the babysitter. The babysitter is supposed to watch the child. And the babysitter is only allowed to tell the baby ABC. Now let me hear you say it. ABC. All right. ABC. Let me hear you say it. That's the babysitter. That's your reverend. That's all he was supposed to tell you. He ain't supposed to tell you nothing about no X, Y, Z. That ain't his work. See? So you need another kind of preacher. One who teaches. Yeah. That's what you're waiting on. Another kind of preacher. One who teaches. My revelation inside is going to be black women. Because that's who's been saving us all the time, you know. Yes, sir. Yes, is the black woman. God bless them. Yeah, that's who's going to bring us up out of this thing, because the black man done lost all his prestige. He done acted worse than the devil. Yes, he had. He has embarrassed everybody and everything. Okay, all right. Yeah. Technical difficulties. All right. 9 months of birth. A system of 9 numbers. What's the other 9 I mentioned?
9 planets.
Thank you, my brother. Somebody's paying attention out there. Yeah. All right. That's what we like. Now let's take this even a little further. How many names of God were and still are in the Old Testament called the Torah? Anybody know? Any biblical scholars out there? Anybody know? 72. How many names of God are there in the Quran? Any Muslims out there? 99. How many names are there in the Bhagavad Gita? Anybody out there know? 108. What is it that these three sets of names and numbers have in common? Thank you. All right. Now, let's look at what we talked about. The great circle is what in mathematics? Thank you. How much is 3 and 6? Uh-oh. Something's up with that 9. And mama. Huh? It's all about knowledge. Yeah, I stopped the mouth of a Jehovah's Witness when I showed her this comparative between these books of faith. And she can't deny it because she could count. You know? You see? Knowledge will carry you higher than what you believe. Including the young sister who will say, when you ask her, well, sister, what's your birth sign? Oh, I don't believe in that. I don't have no birth sign. She didn't stop the sun, the moon, and the stars from moving. If they were to move because we believed, they're there. Thank nature, they don't have to wait on us to believe it. There are only 12 people on this planet. There's only 12 human beings on the planet. They're all found inside the circle of 360 degrees. Whatever time you were born, April the 4th, 1935 at 6:15 a.m. can be found inside the circle of 360 degrees on a certain angle represented by a certain sign called Aries or Taurus or Gemini, etc. What most Christians don't know, those are only the signs. Now, what are the 12 names of those 12 signs? All of you know the names of those signs. But the good Reverend didn't tell you that that was the name of the sign. He told you those were the sons of Jacob. You see? So we're going to take a look at that. The knowledge of self is in the Bible. A real Moor doesn't have to go outside the Bible or church to teach his folks their truth if he only understood the language of nature, symbology, numerology, astrology. All of this is in the Bible. Astronomy is in the Bible. And every time you pick up the Bible and start reading, you hippity-scop right over it, right through it. Who's got a Bible with them right now? Anybody? Any good, sure enough Christian in here? Should be a Bible up on one of y'all's arm. Nobody? You got a Bible back there, my brother? I want to do something I didn't intend to do, but I may as well go ahead with this here. I got my foot stuck out here, and if I don't do something with it, it's going right in my mouth. Don't hand it to me. I know where it is. I want you to read it since you've got it. Thank you, my sister. Bless your heart. Turn to Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. It's a wonderful book. The Bible's a wonderful book. Wonderful, wonderful book. Start reading for us. Verse 14.
And God said,
out loud.
And God said, let there be light in the firmament of the heavens, to divide the day from the night, to let them be of signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for light in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness, and God saw that it was good.
Thank you, very kind. First chapter. See? The Kabbalists didn't even mess around to hide it. The best place to hide something is put it right in your face. Best way, easiest way to make a secret is to put it right out there. They ain't gonna see that. Go, let's go. Everybody walk right by. Excuse me. Yeah. First chapter. Thank you. First chapter. There is a point where human beings are supposed to grow up with their religion. Just as a boy outgrows Snickers and shorts. Then he's supposed to go put on long pants, a man's clothes, right? They have not allowed you all to outgrow your religion, your short pants and your Snickers. See? Not because they don't want to. Two reasons. One, the fear of losing their congregation, which means they would have lost their salaries. Okay, now, unfortunately, that's very real. Unfortunately, that's very true. The other reason, they did not have the knowledge of self. Even though they had the Bible, they did not have. And I'm afraid to say this. They still don't have the knowledge of self. Even though they still have the book. So we're going to look at 12 aspects of what I refer to as the essence of Moorish science. You're going to enjoy this. Even if you don't like it, you're going to learn something. So I'll be looking forward to seeing you Sunday. Bring somebody you love with you that you want to share some light with you. We have some here for you. If you have any questions, I got about 3 minutes. Throw it at me, anything. Let me see a hand go up there. No questions? All right. Yes, sir.
Of the ages we just read in the Bible there.
The astrology. Now, you all were supposed to write those verses down. See, because the good Reverend ain't going to mention that to you Sunday. See, I want you here with pencils and Bibles. Okay, because I'm going to ask you to open the book to chapter this and chapter that. Prove me herewith, saith the Lord, that I shall open you a window to heaven and pour you out a blessing that there shall not be room enough to contain. That's not a promise for heaven. That's a promise every time you go in that book. Knowledgeably, wanting to know something. You prove, not God, that God is in heaven, but that God is within you. That you are G-O-D, generator, operator, destroyer. That's who you are. John 10, 31, 36. Then you run over to Psalm 82, verse 5, to verify the fact of that you are God. That you are the descendant of gods. That your mama is and was God. That your father, this is the lineage that will take us back to heaven. That's what we're going to talk about. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to throw this one out. I thought it took 10 lunar months to have a child.
No, it only takes 7 in terms of gestation. If the child, the embryo, can make it to 7 months, he or she can be born. In the total psychology of circle, that is cycle, it is a 9-month period. Yeah. And for the more advanced souls, sometimes they're ready right on the last day of the 7th month. Thank you very much for listening to me.
And brothers and sisters, that was C. Freeman now. And brother, can you give the brothers and sisters an idea of what you do in terms of your consultations or analysis?
Well, I briefly introduced more science is what I'm going to talk about it, but if you look at the pamphlet, we're going to also talk about meditation and numerology, but I'm going to first tell you about who you are that will explain why you should meditate, then tell you how to meditate, okay? It isn't just meditating. You got to have a real reason to close your eyes and want to leave here and become something other than what you could see in a mirror. That's self-knowledge, identity, and self-revelation. What is the rationale of that? By knowing who you are and what you are. That's what we're talking about.
You also do numerology charts, right?
Yes, I sure do.
That's inside your brochure.
Yeah, I used to miss saying that.
Again?
$60.
And next, what we're going to do, we're going to hear from our beloved brother, Dr. Delbert Blair from Chicago, Illinois. He's going to give us a tidbit of some information about what he represents, and also give you an idea of the type of consultations and services he offers and some of the products that he has available this weekend. So without any further ado, I'd like to bring before you Dr. Delbert Blair.
Let me say hi to everybody, and it's quite a time we're living in nowadays, right? Yes, sir. It's always been an interesting time, but it's a super interesting time now, believe me. I want to let you know that my daughter's prom is tonight in Chicago, and I'm a bad daddy because I'm over here now, but at the same time, I'm very proud that she's achieved that. She's my third, the other two guys have finished college and all. But at the same time, when Tim Rivaz asked me to come here, and we'd been going back and forth for some time, I had to do that, and I'm very grateful that you're here tonight. And I understand this is a special audience, too. A lot of people didn't know about this one tonight, so you must be pretty close to the brothers and the family. Let me say that I've been researching into metaphysics now for about 40 years. My grandmother was a conjure woman in Jamaica, and although I was born here in the United States, I spent a little time on the islands, and I have seen things, and this used to amaze me, that people say can't happen. I not only saw them happen, but saw the people that could do those happenings. And it confused me because I've always been told I've been smart, merely because I guess I was a studious type person. Bryce, when I was younger, simply because she achieved that. She's my third, the other two guys have finished college and all. But at the same time, when Tim Rivaz asked me to come here, and we'd been going back and forth for some time, I had to do that, and I'm very grateful that you're here tonight. And I understand this is a special audience, too. A lot of people didn't know about this one tonight, so you must be pretty close to the brothers and the family. Let me say that I've been researching into metaphysics now for about 40 years. My grandmother was a conjure woman in Jamaica, and although I was born here in the United States, I spent a little time on the islands, and I have seen things, and this used to amaze me, that people say can't happen. I not only saw them happen, but saw the people that could do those happenings. And it confused me because I've always been told I've been smart, merely because I guess I was a studious type person. Bryce, when I was younger, simply because I couldn't understand what I had seen, what I felt, versus what I was being taught and what I was. Go to school here in this country for an education, you go for training. And the better trained you are to perpetuate a mechanistic society, a society that will grind you under and make you lose every bit of spirit that you have, the better they like you. And a lot of people like the way that they honor you when they like you because they pay you good money. But they will not save your soul, your spirit, or your mind, and you lose all of it to them. And then pretty soon you won't like yourself, so then you become evil and an instrument of evil. I've been able to go both routes safely because I've never lied to myself. And when I was lying to myself, I got the heck beat out of me till I didn't lie to myself. And then I found out that once you reach a certain understanding, or supposed to have a certain understanding, and you don't stick to the line, you will suffer. I find that the people who suffer the most are the ones who have the most to give and don't give it. A dumb person cannot get a migraine headache. Did you know that? It's impossible for a dumb, ignorant person to get a migraine headache. Let me tell you why. People who get migraines are worriers. They want change. They have a lot of what we would call, what do you call this, when you have stress and going on. But the people who can, hey, baby, what's happening, baby? Let's do it. Let's get down. Let's get on with it. These people don't get migraines because they are so easily waving, just like a palm tree in a tornado and a hurricane. They bend anywhere. They stand for nothing, but they don't get migraine headaches. You have to think something is right or wrong. You have to begin to look and study to start getting migraines, because then you begin to think maybe everything isn't right. Maybe something should be changed, including the educational system. Maybe things are not quite right. So then you begin to worry, then you can get the migraines, and you can get the blood pressure going up. Well, that usually is what most black people go through anyway. We all can suffer from migraine headaches if we think, because we have been through you know what. I don't curse, this is why you hear me talk like that. I know how to, I don't. Now, the time we're living in now is a time that I guess I have looked forward to all of my life. But I've always dreaded what came with that time. And doggone it, that time is here with all the dread that I worried about. You can't pick up a newspaper, you can't go to a movie, you can't turn on TV, you can't go to a church, you can't go to a school, you can't go anything without hearing about hurricanes. I understand you guys know what a tornado's like recently, right? You're not used to run all through Pennsylvania, right? Tornadoes are known to run through Pennsylvania, right? Wrong, it doesn't. But they are now. Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, tsunamis, seisures, water spouts, droughts, plagues. Anybody even know when I say, what do they call this guy named? Was it Chudakaka? Can't think of this particular beast that they got running around now, but it's one that came out of Mexico now that's running around draining people's blood, just like Dracula. Only it's got hind legs like a kangaroo, jumps over fences, over garages. I'm not kidding you. And same, one species of it flies now. Okay? If you listen to or look at the X-File or the Outer Limits or any other thing, you don't have to do anything but turn it off and go to your window, because that's where the real picture is being shown. You have now, right out here in Montauk, Long Island, everybody pretty much on the East Coast knows Montauk. You're going up there again. How many have ever heard of the Montauk Project or Montauk? Just 3, 4 people. Well, that's better than most. Right out here on the East Coast, further up, they have a government-sponsored, over the last 28 years knowingly, and the last 50 years overall in time travel. Now, this is not Sliders. This is not some movie. This is on your side of this continent, in Long Island. They're experimenting with time travel. How many remember, let's see, this couldn't have been more than about 4 or 5 years ago, where there was a so-called series of fires up here along the coast. It was out there at Montauk, Long Island. It hit some of the nice rich homes there again. And there was also a couple of blackouts and brownouts. They said it was a big power failure at the Niagara Falls terminal. Anybody remember that in here, since you're on this side of town? Nobody heard about that in here. That's fascinating to me. See, this is why I say, boy, nobody heard about that. Then I won't, 2 people.
I heard about a double Blair tape.
Oh, the Delbert Blair tape, yeah. You should hear me take on some of these scientists and begin to debate them when we really get down heavy with it. It's very interesting that this kind of thing you have. How many listen to the Art Bell show here? It started out here, I think, on the East Coast maybe about 2 months ago. 1 person only. This is even more amazing. Art Bell After Dark. Huh? Art Bell After Dark. You got the publication and all, too. Okay. Well, let me just say to you, I won't go that way out with you. I'll draw back in the range right quick. We'll stay more in where you are, but before you leave here this weekend, if you come back, we're going to all be way out, because I'm going to present to you some things and tell you about some things and how ways you can check them out to see if I'm lying. And if not, then you have to ask, God have mercy on us, or somebody, what in the world is going on? I stated that we go here to these schools and we get trained and not educated. And I insist that that is the truth. If you are a society that wants to control a multitude, a large amount of people, and you want to do it without killing them all off or having them kill a small amount of you, then you have to get their minds. And I know you have read many books on black history about how the minds of the black man has been taken. But they didn't take the minds of the black man. They educated, miseducated the brains of the black man. And they used fear, treachery, and all type of ways to begin to gain that power. But an educated person is a very dangerous person if the person is truly educated. There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom, just like there's a difference between education and training. An educated person learns to be educated every day of his or her life, out in the streets, conversations, books, TVs, and they're constantly grasping. As I heard Freeman there say again, in meditation, in prayer, it's a walking prayer that I want to know, revealed to me. Let me know if what I know is truth. I make a statement a lot. If you've seen any of my tapes, many probably haven't done that either, but whatever. There is no truth until you decide what truth is. Now repeat that again. There is no truth until you decide what truth is. We have been told by the first thing you learned, again, if you go into the physics classes or if you go otherwise, that no two things can occupy the same space at the same time. That's basic physics. And chemistry, again. One body, once set in motion, tends to stay in motion. We call it inertia and all these kinds of things. Now, these are fundamental laws by which supposedly they're forming nuclear weapons and they're making fiber optics and this kind of thing. And both those things are lies. And they didn't make fiber optics. It was handed to them. It was handed to them. I repeat again. Many things can occupy the same space at the same time based on their rate of vibration, based on their inward molecular resonance. Simply means how fast they vibrate. When you watch these tornadoes, and let's hope you never see one up close. I got the one close up, and I was already praying, so then I just shut up because there was nothing more to say. It was either going to happen or I was gone, because that is a powerful thing. And I was told that was a mild tornado. It was nothing like a hurricane. After a tornado passes, strange things happen. With a tornado, you can find, what's very interesting to me, straw out of a wood pile, out of a broom on a farm or so, embedded in bricks. Here's the straw sticking out of a brick wall, or lots of straw sticking on a brick wall. Now you take a piece of straw and you jam it against a brick wall, and of course that straw is going right into that brick, isn't it? Done right, not hard. The only thing going in that brick is your sore thumb or finger that you might break by pushing it like that. But with tornadoes and hurricanes, a strange phenomenon. They go, and there's straw sticking out of bricks. You say, well, how is that possible? Everything has a rate of vibration. Understand, it's going to be a martial arts teacher instructor tomorrow. They will also deal with vibrations and how things can render. Everything, there's no such thing as a solid. Everything has a rate of vibration. And everything has a formation to be what it is. But under a third force, and that tornado or that hurricane is that third force, those molecules begin to move at a very fast rate. And pretty soon that third force influences the straw and what? The brick wall. And when they all get to vibrating, the force doesn't ask you, are you a straw? Are you a brick? It says, obey or be scattered with my winds, because that is a wind. And when the force finally leaves, things are rearranged, which lets us know one thing. We're not solid. We aren't powerful. And we are all subject to a higher will, a higher vibration. If it can work on straw and brick, it can surely work on the tissue and soft tissue and organs of a person. You can reorganize yourself by reaching a higher vibration. Those that are masters of such then begin to control the winds and control the fire. And those that are beginning to learn it only can consume it in the form of food or in the form of thought. Higher thoughts make you vibrate faster. To think higher thoughts, your body must be organized to do so, or you get headaches, or you get disease, imbalance. That's why it takes a lot of energy to think. In fact, it takes 15 times, they used to tell me 10, 15 times more energy to think than it does to run a mile. 15 times. Most of the time they tell us what? We use less than 1/10 of our brain power. Quite obviously so, because we don't have enough energy to do so. To give you a summation of what is happening at our planet, on our planet, with our planet at this time. Our planet is beginning to bring in the vibrations to let you think in an esoteric, spiritual, strong way. I didn't say religious, I said spiritual way. It is bringing in enough energy to give man back the power that he once had, and man being again what is we called a kind of man, or mankind, means he or she. Because of this, the limited power that we now use, which is electrical power, will fail very soon. Make your preparations. Mark me, quote me. Power electrical is going to fail, and it's not going to take 3 years. I don't know what plans you have in the future, but I know one plan you ought to begin to think about. Without electrical power, nothing in this society will work, because everything here is electromagnetic, electrical frequencies. And electrical frequency is a lowered, modulated form of magnetism. Think about this. Give you an example, hope Brother Dell doesn't mind. I gave you an example of the straw and the brick, right? Now, I gave you another example of frequency. As I understand, we have 7 frequencies here on this planet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Each one higher in vibration, till finally we get down to one that doesn't seem to be vibrating at all. Magnetism is a high frequency. Electricity is a lower frequency. But they're just 2 of 5 other frequencies. As we become more magnetic, we're going to get more and more storms. We're going to get more and more things happening in the ocean. We're going to get more and more storms and volcanic eruptions and hurricanes and everything else. It didn't have to be that way. But this is the way the electrical people wanted it to be. Our planet is supposed to be magnetic. Distorters have made it electromagnetic, and humans have made it electric. The planet says, no more. I am awakening, I shall raise my frequency, and whatever does not raise frequency with me shall not exist, or shall change to my frequency, one of the two. People with melanin, is there anybody here, because I asked a couple other questions, now we'll get a consensus, I'll bet you. Anybody here doesn't know what melanin is? If you don't know what melanin is, raise your hand, please. Okay? Is there anybody here that never heard of the word or the term melanin? That's good. All right. That's a help for me. Melanin is what makes you have dark skin, dark hair, dark anything. It is a melanin granule in there that makes it there. They have a term called melanocyte, melanin site, a site where melanin frequents. When you bleed, you stop bleeding because they say the blood coagulates. Well, that may be true, but black people form what is called keloids. Keloids have done a whole lot of harm to black people, including scarring permanently, because it is a rough ingrafting of skin that happens after the cut heals. The only reason that forms like that is because there wasn't enough oxygen and there's too much electricity. Under magnetism, it would be a smooth healing, and the person would say, did I ever get cut? We operate on the wrong frequency. Why? Because we have what is called a pineal gland. Not pineal, pineal gland. Looks like a little pine cone. Anybody ever seen a pine cone out in the woods or so? If not, go to the dictionary and look it up later on. You'll see a picture of a pine cone. And it hangs from the pituitary gland, if you would, and this pine cone influences the pituitary gland. Now in school they told me, and you tell me if they told you differently, that the master gland of the body is what? Pituitary gland. They didn't tell you that in school. Okay. They told me that. Bye. How is it that the pituitary gland can be the master gland if it takes orders from the pineal gland? And it does. The pineal gland tells the pituitary gland what to do by secreting what is called zerenin. Zerenin. It also secretes what is called zeranase. Then the pituitary gland begins to do whatever it is that it's going to do. Right? That pineal gland is what lets you dream at night and remember them. It's what lets you dream in color. It's a big crystal in your skull. That's why I heard you mention the Masonic order and so, that they would teach that the Great Pyramid at Giza, and that's just one of hundreds of pyramids on this planet, and on other planets too, by the way, that little vibration that's there represented the king's chamber. And that whole complex represents your skull and your body, but it's not mankind's body and not human's body, it's man's body. And that's the difference. We've been taught we're all equal. We're not equal. We've been taught we all came from the same source. We didn't come from the same source. But we have been miscegenated on this planet, and this is another thing that's caused a lot of problems. What am I scattering, shouting about? Give me a few more minutes. I want you to come with me, but if I can't interest you, you won't listen to me. I want you to listen to me and find your truth tonight. So if I'm here the rest of the weekend, or if you can avail yourself of the tapes, or if no more, if you just think a little bit more, you'll be thinking along lines that may save your life. May not, but it may. This pineal gland is now what is coveted by mankind and human on this planet, because theirs is atrophied, doesn't work too well, and the more they expose themselves to electrical propagations and tell lies and eat the wrong foods, the more it's not going to work. The Atlanta child murders, mutilations is what they were, was to get and study melanin, and to get it in its richest form at puberty and prepubescence amongst those who were so strong, because all those kids that they killed. And Williams never did anything about that. The black guy Williams. You've been thinking that black guy did it. You bought another lie. They did this because they wanted all those kids that they killed and they murdered were above average and strong in melanin usage. Almost all your finds and discoveries on this planet, as I'm sure you know, were about black people did them. Why? Because the oldest race of people, if we have a black race, you understand what I'm saying again, I'm reaching past nomenclature. The furthest back you go on this planet, you find black people, what they call the Negrito, little black dwarfs. I don't care whether you go to Europe, which is not a continent, whether you go to America, whether you go to Australia, whether you go to Africa, whether you go to any place on this earth. The further back in time you go, you'll find a little wizened, occipital lobe Negrito, peppercorn hair, which simply means 4 foot to 5 foot tall, dark skin, kinky beady hair, and what they call a long head, occipital lobe, which meant that that person was a very psychic, spiritual individual. As our planet couldn't maintain that kind of creature, along with another kind of creature that got here, just leave it that way for now, they had to change the field of energy around this planet, whoever they is. That's why I'm trying to interest you. And they successfully did it. And instead of this planet being magnetic as it once was, it was called other names, it is now electromagnetic. Everything that you have now in this society that you really covet plugs into something. Oh, you say no? Everything that makes business go, that makes you enjoy your family time at home, that, oh, talk too long? Okay. Well, okay, he's right too, because I'll get off on a tangent and you'll be here all night long, and I know you don't want to be. Let's just say this. Electrical gadgets are killing you. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow and explain to you in detail why. Electrical currents in the air are keeping you docile and stopping you from being the gods you're supposed to be. They're killing your melanin and they're making your pineal gland atrophy. You can't think straight. Electrical foods, microwaved, which are cumulative, are causing you to die faster and to age sooner. Electrical everything is killing the planet. And the planet, even though you won't say it, the planet said, enough. Our sun reversed polarity in 1959. And that means that people with melanin can finally get to shine. But they don't know who they are. You think you know who you are. You don't know who you are. But still, because you have melanin, you're being blessed. If the protagonists, evil people who produce this electricity had their way, the remaining population of close to 65 million black people, negritos, in this country, nothing like any 22 million, they used that figure back in 1940. That's right. Plus the fact the dominant people on this planet have melanin. But you wouldn't know that either. Our sun reversed polarity in 1959, and from that time on, our field of energy out there is becoming magnetic. It's changing from electric.